stuck between a libertarian and a Republican? Welcome to Publitarian Podcast.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. This is Ronald Johnson, Publitarian, coming at you again with another episode of Publitarian Podcast, and we are up to episode number 79, and I don't have a title for this one yet. I think I'm just going to be doing some catch-ups on all of the news that's been hitting us all at once. Just some quick updates here. Chaz has fallen, Chaz became Chop, and then Chaz got chopped. So, pour one out for Chaz, or Chop. Chop one up for Chaz? I don't know. Anyway, well, speaking of pour one out, the Publitarian drink of the day is going to be something with gin in it. All right. Coming at you as always from Publitarian Studios West. Entering back into coronavirus times again, it seems. Where I am in the penis of America, known as Florida, we've got 5,000, 9,000 new cases of coronavirus. Everybody's freaked out. Everything's shutting down again. Oh, we opened too soon, yada, yada, yada. New York, Cuomo is taking a victory lap on Ron DeSantis, the governor of Florida, saying, yeah, that's what you get, Ron. Meantime, New York is number one in coronavirus deaths. See where Florida is on that. Just start scrolling through pages and see where Florida is. And tell me how much you're winning, freaking Cuomo. Anyway, as far as the corona stuff goes, I don't know why everybody in Florida is so surprised that our cases spiked back up. I mean, we opened everything up. I assumed there was going to be some kind of spike where people got a lot of cases again, and then the curve was going to flatten again. But time will tell on that. And let's see. What else is going on? I have seen so much news and fake news and misinformation flying around there out in the internetosphere that I don't even know how to parse this anymore to even tell you guys what's going on. But I will say this. I'm seeing a lot of conservatives, a lot of people on what I consider my side of the aisle starting to seemingly abandon President Trump and go, well, I'm just going to sit this one out, or he's not doing everything that I want him to do. I have visited this before, and I'll visit it again. Guys, ladies, what we're seeing right now is wartime. We are in the gladiator arena. It's ancient Rome, and we have the one champion fighting for our cause down there. That's it. Yes, I know there's other politicians and citizen journalists and people on the ground. I'm saying the dude out in the forefront taking all the arrows is President Trump. Is he doing everything perfectly? No, nobody does. We are flawed people, flawed human beings. But you know what you don't want to do is sit this one out because of bump stock bans, or Trump didn't send the National Guard in. And I've explained this before on previous podcasts why I don't think he's doing that, and I still think that rings true. And what I'm seeing people saying, even Tucker Carlson is like, oh, well, presidents need to show strength during this time. I think Trump is showing America, these are your liberal cities. This will be coming to a theater near you if you, the people, continue to let this culture dominate. And I could be wrong about that. And speaking of the dominating culture, I've preached about this before, but we do a really good, we being, free thinkers, right-wingers, conservatives, do a really, really good job of facts and data. But none of us really try to actually change the culture or entertain. Andrew Breitbart famously said that politics is downstream of culture, and we have let that stream get polluted, and the stream has become a waterfall of just Marxism and leftism and liberalism. if you look at any of the things that are going on nowadays, even Black Lives Matter, which you would think would just be a pure sentiment on its own. Oh, Black Lives Matter. Well, of course Black Lives Matter. I mean, I think all lives matter. Ronald, you're a racist for saying that. Well, aren't black lives part of all lives? No, Ronald, you're a racist for saying that. Okay, if you look at Black Lives Matter, the actual organization, started by two ladies that are actual Marxists. The reason I know that is because the co-founder is saying that. You can find video clips of her saying that she is a trained Marxist. They know exactly what they're doing. There's pictures of the two ladies being filmed with Maduro down in Venezuela. Being pictured with Maduro down in Venezuela. Make no mistake about this. The culture war is leftism. It is Marxism. And it's at our door. And while I'm telling you guys that it's important for us to not lose this culture war, there's another part of me saying, God, is this too late? I don't know. Like, firepower-wise, military-wise, boogaloo-wise, if you want to call it. Like, yes, if a left and a right war really broke out, of course the right would win. We have all the guns. We have all the ammo. But I don't want that to happen. I'm just hoping that we can still turn this ship around and start culturally changing. But if we don't start doing that, all is going to be lost. And and thank God for Parler and social media places like this where you can, go and say what you want to say. But even when we're trying to win the culture war that way, we're missing one element. And that element is entertainment and fun. We're retreating to places to where we can still give news and we can still give our opinion, but we're still not reaching the demographics that we want to reach, which is basically, everybody that we can. If we retreat to these social media platforms that are like, hey, we're free speech here, great. You're not going to get censored there, but you're not going to be red pilling and waking people up either. It is super important that we inject ourselves into this culture war. And I still have yet to see people do that. I'm seeing a little bit of it, like the TPUSA is doing Alex Clark, and bless her heart, she's really cute, and she's trying with the politics thing. Sometimes it's funny, sometimes it's cringe. I know, haters always hate up, right? But I promise I'm not trying to hate. I'm trying to critique this. And what we miss in the mark is we're still just trying to provide facts and data, and we're not entertaining just to purely entertain. I think what our side needs is an actual artistic and cultural revolution where we emphasize truth and beauty and things that were used to be celebrated in art, humor, entertainment, because humor can be offensive, art can be offensive, but I'm not talking about just being provocative just to provoke. I'm talking about truth. And that can be done through humor, it can be done through music, it can be done through comedy, all of the arts. And that's still the big piece of the puzzle that we're missing. Even the conservatives that say they're doing this, they're telling stories or they're, trying to entertain, they're still not quite making the mark. It's obviously veiled conservatism. You can spot it a mile away. And what I think needs to happen is that freethinkers, right-wingers, libertarians, just people that aren't crazy leftists need to start culturally looking at where we're at and what we can do. Because you know what? Sometimes you can just entertain people. Sometimes you can just play music. Sometimes you can just make a piece of art. It doesn't have to have a right-wing overt message in it or an anti-communist message in it. Sometimes you can just entertain people. Sometimes you can just have fun. And the fun is what we're missing from this conservative versus liberal or left versus right war. I do realize that as I'm saying all this, it might be too late. We might be already too ensconced in the battlefield and surrounded by the enemy for any of this to matter. But politics really is downstream of culture. And if we do not change this culture, we're going to be lost. I'm seeing a lot of Generation Z that is conservative now, that's rejecting the ideas of their mothers and fathers. Maybe because of teenage rebellion. Hey, fine, whatever. Everybody's been a teenager. Everybody's rebelled. Or it may be because they're actually able to parse information that's given to them. But we still have an uphill battle culturally. Social media is in the tank for the left. Unapologetically, by the way. Project Veritas is still releasing videos of Facebook employees on hidden cameras going, oh yeah, we target MAGA people all day long and take them out. But just unapologetically. Zuckerberg himself, before Congress, has said, oh yeah, this is a problem and I'm trying to address it. He's not trying to address it. Google shuts down conservative or wrong think all of the time. So what I'm saying here is that we need to take this culture back. And I'm not sure what this looks like, except for the fact that we're missing, again, I'll say the big part, the big element of this is that there's no actual fun in our movement. We've got truth. We've got some humor, like we can do the memes and stuff like that, but I'm saying like actual things like entertainment that people want to watch and listen to. They are all overtly political. We can't just entertain for the sake of entertainment. And I think that's where we're missing the mark. There's no movie studio. There's no channels that are just entertaining to entertain without propaganda. The great Bongino has talked about how Fox News was successful back in the day, back when they had their old president, not this guy, where he said famously, looking at all the other networks, we're going to market ourselves saying we're not them. And that's what we're missing to winning this culture war. We're saying, well, we have all these facts and we have this truth and we have these ideologies that have stood the test of time. All that is true. But if you're dealing with people that are coming from emotions and not facts, or they're left-brained and not right-brained, if you want to call it that, although I think that left-brain, right-brain thing has been debunked, that's where we're missing the mark. Because we can't purely entertain. We can't purely entertain people. We have to have some kind of, here's the overt truth. It's kind of like growing up as a Christian and watching all of the Christian movies or the pure flicks or whatever. I mean, like I said, God bless them. They're trying. But if something is overtly Christian and it's in the entertainment sphere, or overtly right-wing and it's in the entertainment sphere, I mean, it really does, folks. It comes across as cheesy because people can see that they're trying to get some kind of message out. Whereas left-wing messaging, yeah, if you've been like unplugged from the Matrix long enough, you can see that the left wing is trying to propagandize you and give you messaging, but the right is very like heavy-handed about it when they try to entertain. So I would challenge anybody that listens to this podcast that is any kind of artist, any kind of creator. You can still create just for the sake of creation. You know, get a following, be good at your craft, do what you do, and you don't always have to be like overtly right-wing political. I think that would be a good start in starting to take back the culture. Having said all that, 14 minutes in, we may be already at the point where, like I said, we're in the trenches, we're in the battlefield, and it may not matter, and we just may have to just start, doing whatever we can to beat back the left ideologically. But it's a weird time. It's a weird time that we're living in right now, because we're seeing so much cancel culture happening now, to where banks are denying people, PayPal's denying people because of political views, and I really don't know what the answer is going to be. So, answer one, I would say let's try and culturally answer back by providing our own entertainment that doesn't necessarily have to be political, but it can just be free of propaganda. It can just entertain. And we'll see where it goes from there. I actually have so much news that I need to cover. It's been like a couple of weeks of updated things, but I don't think I'll be able to smash it into a 20-minute podcast. So I said all that just to say that I think that we need to at least try and engage in this culture war, and don't try and engage just purely politically. Because not everybody is a logical facts and data person, and that's where like the Shapiros of the world lose people, because they only have facts and data. Yes, facts and data is important, but sometimes you need to make an emotional argument, or sometimes you just need to show people that you're a human being with a soul, and that you can entertain, or that you can create art, or that you can play music, or that you can play video games, or anything having to do with the arts or culture. And I hope it's not too late to do that. Where am I at? 16 minutes? Well, let's see what else I have in my notes. This is very professional, just doing my notes here in live time. There was an interesting article in the Wall Street Journal, and I'm doing other people's podcast work here, which I try not to do, and I do invoke Dan Bongino a lot because I think he's one of the better conservative podcasters out there. This is behind a paywall, so unless you're subscribed to the Wall Street Journal, you're not going to be able to see it. But for all of you on the fence, like, oh, Trump's not doing this or Trump's not doing that, and I just won't vote, according to this article, they laid out a lot of things that are at stake for our republic that I think needs our attention. The Democrats are no longer hiding who they are. There's two factions in the Democrat Party. There are the committed Marxists that are trying to tear down Western society, and there are also the big corporate, big business, big government Democrats. But they are symbiotic. They are working with each other to tear down the right. So if you're not voting straight R down the ticket, I don't know what to tell you. Because if you vote Democrat, you are 100% guaranteed to get a Democrat. If you vote Republican, you are 50%, 50-50 shot that you're going to get a Republican. You might get a Republican, or you might get like a milquetoast, whatever. Maybe I'll vote Republican. Maybe I will be a principled conservative, which is something else that Bongino talked about. The principled conservatives. Listen, all of you principled conservatives that are listening to me, especially libertarians that just think that pure libertarianism is the way to go. I'm sorry, libertarians, you don't have enough votes. You don't have enough votes to make a difference. I hate the two-party system too, but you don't work with the world as how you want it to be. You work with the world how it is. And how it is right now is that there is a two-party system. You have Republicans and you have Democrats. So which side are you going to be on? If you just give up totally and let the Democrats have their way, they're talking about doing away with the filibuster when they get power back. This is from the Wall Street Journal article. They're talking about adding more to the Supreme Court so they can stack the courts with extra liberal judges. They're talking about making D.C. and Puerto Rico states. Wonder how D.C., who is 99% liberal, is going to vote. Wonder how liberal Puerto Rico is going to vote. It would be guaranteeing a majority for liberals forever. Is that what you want? So if you don't get fired up and you don't start voting, this is going to happen. And please call out voter fraud whenever you see it. I've been shouting this from the rooftops about voter fraud. You will never be able to convince me that the 2018 midterms weren't stolen from Republicans via voter fraud. And I've been sharing news story after news story about voter fraud that's been actively happening, which is because the news has been catching it, and people have been catching it, and it's been called out. People have been prosecuted. People have been caught doing it. So we need to continue to do that, because remember, liberals, Democrats, they don't have good ideas, and they can't win an election, and they can't win on their ideals honestly. They have to cheat. They have to redraw the district lines. They have to do ballot harvesting. They have to register dead people to vote. They have to get grandma to vote 5 times Democrat. They can't win a fair fight. The problem is right-wingers, free-thinkers, libertarians, we're still trying to fight a fair fight. And what I'm telling you now is we are in the arena. We are in the gladiator arena, And we don't have the luxury of standing up and being snooty and being like, well, I'm principled and I think Trump is this and Trump is that and my bump stocks and all this other like grievances you have against Donald Trump. He's it. He's the gladiator. He's what's in the arena right now. Like it or not, he's the one that's fighting. He's the one that's working for free. For free, by the way. He's the one that's lost $2.5 billion of his fortune, estimated, to try and protect this country. So if you don't think he's doing 100% good things at all times, of course, he's a human being. Of course he's not going to do 100% right at all times. What is the alternative? Dementia Joe Biden? Mask hanging off the side of his ear? Joe Biden can't get a freaking sentence out of his own freaking mouth? Joe Biden? Because that's what you're going to get if you don't vote Donald Trump and Republicans straight down the ticket. Like I said, I hate that we as Republicans have a 50-50 shot that our person is going to vote how we want them to vote. But we really don't have a choice right now. If we vote Libertarian or third party or do any of that other bull crap, it's just going to be taking votes away from the people that need the votes. It's really sad because we've given up religion, we've given up art, we've given up music, entertainment, education, and everything to the left. I'm swerving back to my original topic now. And we wonder why we're in the predicament we're in now. We've not protected our cultural waterways, going back to the Andrew Breitbart quote about politics being downstream from culture. We're down to two options now. We ignore the behavior, like you would with a brat, or we fight back. But listen up, people. If you choose to fight back, you're going to have to fight back hard. I have a family member that's a children's behavior therapist, and they talk about extinction therapy and how you deal with bratty behavior. And there's two ways you can deal with it. You can ignore the behavior. Like people are tearing down statues, you just ignore the behavior. It can be effective, or you address it head on and you hit hard. I don't mean physically hit hard. I mean you come out with all that you have. So if you're not prepared to do that, then maybe this fight's not for you. But this is the fight you're going to be coming into soon. And there's not going to be that many fence straddlers left. I know this has been a real cheery episode, hasn't it? You're either going to be on one side or the other. You're going to be either on elephant or donkey when it comes down to it. And if you're on team donkey, then you're an ass. You're a donkey. I would be remiss if I didn't address what's going on with the African-American community. I would love to have Pierre Wilson or someone like that on, or even Officer Tatum. I have not been able to coordinate my schedule and with getting a guest on my show to talk about what's going on in Black America and in the African-American community. As I was perusing my articles the other day, because slavery has been a big topic, and Vice, which funny enough used to be run by Gavin McInnes, a very liberal Vice. I saw this article talking about modern day slavery going all the way into the 1960s. So the article's premise was that America is such a piece of crap racist country that we carried slavery all the way into the 1960s. And that's what the article says. Like, if you look at the top, it's like, oh no, slavery didn't end in 1863. It ended in, the 1960s, and it was still going on. Well, the actual story, if you get all the way to the bottom of the article, you have to get multiple paragraphs in. It turns out it's just following one bad sharecropping situation with a piece of crap landowner who told the people that were sharecropping for him that, their time wasn't up yet and they had to work longer. A far cry from 1863 slavery, but the article was doing its damage. Okay, so slavery was still happening in the 1960s and all white people are evil and we must apologize. Anyway, if you did see that article from Vice, I wanted to get out ahead of it and tell you what was really going on with that article. Also, speaking of Black history, have any of you heard of Madam C.J. Walker, the first female millionaire in America? Not the first black female, the first female millionaire in America, who happened to be black. I would challenge you to look up her story. It's really cool. Hey, you know what? I'm going to run a little bit long on this podcast. I want to talk about the Tulsa Trump rally, too. I cannot believe that the left is doing, like, a victory lap at the supposed, like, pictures that they took of the Trump rally. 90% of them were before, like, the rally had even filled up. There was overflow outside, and anti-Trump protesters were trying to block people from getting in. There was police mishaps. There was all kind of BS. But if you look at actual videos from in the rally, that was a pretty stacked rally. The lowest estimates of this 20,000 seat capacity Tulsa dome was the capacity is 20,000. And the lowest estimates was that it was filled to 6,000, and the highest estimates that I saw was 16,000 people were there. Now, if you take a cursory look at yourselves, the videos, you will see that that most of the top was not filled, but the mezzanine and the surrounding and the pit areas were all filled. But the left and people like AOC are taking a victory lap because they supposedly trolled the Trump team and brought out a bunch of K-pop people and all these other people to request 1 million tickets for this venue. And I don't know why they're taking a victory lap over that. The stadium only holds 20,000 people. If you do 1 million ticket requests, then, 1 million people aren't getting in. There's only 20,000 people getting in. So what I would want people to look at instead is, in spite of all this BS that's going on with Corona and everything else, that was still a very well-attended Trump rally. There was never going to be 1 million people in that rally. The most that would ever be in there was 20,000. And they're just like taking a victory lap over it. AOC's out tweeting, "Yay, K-pop and Gen Z, you did it." And then, of course, people are calling her out. "Oh, are you colluding with China and a foreign power to influence the election?" Of course, she will not get any repercussions or blowback about that because #liberal privilege. So, despite pandemics and riots, civil unrest, and just everything that's happening in the United States of America, people still came out to that rally. Meantime, Joe Biden couldn't fill a gymnasium with 10 people. So I would like that to be some good news as I close out this podcast. But at the same time, I want you people, especially my listeners that are of voting age, I do want you to be nervous and on edge so you'll go out and vote and make a difference this 2020. I know that all of our gut feelings are Trump has got this in the bag. Never underestimate the culture that we live in and the damage that it can do. Although I wouldn't pay attention to the polls because the polls had Hillary up at 91%, 98%, and Trump won in a very handily electoral college victory. But having said that, there's a lot of voter fraud. There's a lot of shenanigans going on. So if you are of age and you can volunteer at these places, be a poll worker. I'm going to shout out Ruby Red Pill up in Alaska for doing this. She watches polls. And there's not enough of us that do that. Like, if you're not a right-winger and you're not at these polls to see what's going on, some shady crap can go on. In my own state, in Broward County, Brenda Snipes, who still hasn't been prosecuted, who just got to walk away, was an election supervisor in Broward County, Florida, who literally caught cheating, voter fraud, and just got to just resign from her job and walk away. So we're living in crazy times. And the problem with that is we're still dependent upon the rule of law and playing by the rules. But remember, the lefties are not playing by the rules. They are stacking the decks against us. So just be vigilant and do the best you can out there. Let's create our own culture. Let's create good humor. Let's create good art. Let's create good entertainment and start taking this culture back and start taking this country back. And I think that will do it for me on this edition of Publitarian Podcast. If you want to reach out to me, you can. I'm publitarian@gmail.com or thepublitarian@gmail.com. I'm on all the social medias. Parler's been blowing up a lot lately, but I've been on Parler for a long time. I'm on Parler, I'm on Gab, I'm on Minds. Of course, I'm on Instagram. If you're listening to this podcast, that's probably how you found me. And let's just keep fighting the good fight. All right, guys, I'll see you next time on the next edition of Publitarian Podcast.
You've been listening to Publitarian Podcast, copyright 2020.